I'm closing my 24 to 36 houses a year, and I'm making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to hear this. The market got really hard over the last couple years. Sales shriveled up. They went from 7 million down to like 4 million. That's a big drop, guys. If you have 10 or 20 conversations a day, at the end of the week, you should have some appointments. If you don't, then you may have a conversion problem. But I don't care about how many dials you have, and I don't care about how many texts you sent. You only had one conversation. If you're sitting here and you're like, well, maybe I work another job, maybe this is too much, you can adjust your numbers down a little bit, but you can't eliminate the categories. If you drop the bucket entirely, this is how your pipeline collapses. So if you got nothing in your pipeline, if you're like, man, where is my next deal coming from? It's likely because you're struggling in one of these three areas. So keep in mind, if you think 30 a day is too much, that's okay. Can you pull 5, 5, and 5? You just keep that in mind. And then time blocking for success. The most effective prospectors don't find time, they protect it. Your 90-minute or 3-hour block should be in your calendar every single day. Every day. It is an appointment with yourself. So when someone calls you and says, Crystal, will you show me a house at 10 a.m.? You're like, sorry, I'm actually booked from 9 to 11, but I can meet you at 11:30, right? So many agents are so quick to cancel all of the most important thing that builds their business for anything else. They will miss trainings like this that are in a calendar every single week. I personally email you guys, by the way. When you get the email from me on Sunday, it is literally me at my computer in my office typing out what we're doing on a Monday, and I want to pour into you guys every week, and I want to teach you guys about selling and investing and agent attraction and whatever you want to learn about. So if you say, hey Jared, can you do a training on this? I will do it. But it's amazing how many people be like, dang, I missed the 1 o'clock because I had to XYZ. Oh man, I missed role play because I had to go on a showing. And you're like, man, you're one of the worst people I've ever heard on the phones. You should never miss role play. So keep in mind, all of these things are things that we want to make consistent within our schedule, and prospecting is by far at the top of that. Because every time we drive to show one house and we spend 2 hours doing that, we talked to one client, we showed one house, and then we lost what? The ability to talk to 30 people that we could have turned into clients. So just keep that in mind. You have to protect your calendar. You have to make sure that prospecting goes in, and then you have no distractions. Prospecting time is not a time to check email. FYI, Claude can do that for you now, guys. You can literally just tell Claude to go into your email and look at it every morning and every afternoon and weed out all of the junk and unsubscribe to all of it. And now I have an assistant that looks through mine as well and will tell me when things are important. Trish is on that call now. What she probably doesn't know is that Claude is automatically unsubscribing to stuff every single day without her or I doing it, because it automatically seeing the stuff coming in. It's like, this is junk, that's junk, this is junk. And it's slowly but surely weeding out junk emails each and every day for me. So I get that report and it says, here are 2 important ones. And my assistant says, oh, this one's important. And then I look at those things and I ignore everything else. So your prospecting time is not a time to check emails. It's not a time to be on social media. It's not a time to hang out with your wife or your husband or your spouse or your kids, right? You shut the door. The time block is sacred, and you use your phone and your CRM only. Keep in mind, I think you should be dialing all of your stuff through your CRMs if you can. We try to do that on our team just to one track everything, but it also listens to the calls. It takes notes on the calls. We have AI that coaches the calls. But keep in mind, if all that's open is your CRM and you're dialing through your CRM and it's either calling on the computer so you don't even need the phone, or it's dialing on your phone on every pickup, you're not gonna be distracted with all of this stuff. Conversations only, not busy work. This is not the time that you get on and say, well, I'm gonna start organizing my database now so that I can start prospecting. Oh, I wanna call expired, so I'm gonna go start pulling all of these expireds and phone numbers from 9 to 11, and about 10:45 I'm gonna be done and I'm gonna call people for 15 minutes. No. This is all done. So when you get into your prospecting time, you are literally just there to prospect. That is it, right? Because the only metric that matters is conversations in this block of time, and nothing else matters until it's done. So just keep that in mind. If you don't tell yourself that every day, you will make excuses, because it's the least fun part of our business. I have never once talked to a realtor that sat across the table from me when I said, why did you get on this business? And had them say, you know what I love to do? I love to prospect. prospect on the phones. But you know, I've heard people say, I love HGTV. I love looking at houses. I love the idea of finding people their dream home. I love the idea of having freedom. I love the idea of making a bunch of money. We hear that all the time. No one is like, you know what I want to do? I want to get hung up on the phones for at least 3 hours a day. So keep in mind, this is the only thing that matters. This is what gets you to the appointments. This is what gets you to show dream homes. This is what gets you into those luxury listings. So just make sure that this is how you start helping people, because this is how you start helping. You call them, you have conversations. So here's the thing. This is what actually counts. Here's your lead indicators. We've talked about this on a call before. Your actual lead indicators to your goals. Track conversations and track appointments set. I don't track dials on my team. Sometimes agents will give them to me and I'm cool with that. If you're on my team and you come and you are really good about saying, hey, I called X amount of people yesterday, I love that you're tracking the numbers. It's great, but I don't care about how many dials you have and I don't care about how many texts you sent, because if you tell me, man, I called 180 numbers yesterday and I talked to one person, guess what? You only had one conversation. The other 179 dials don't really matter. Text sent. If you're like, I texted 70 people, well, how many replied? 0. I also don't care. So this is the metric. Now, again, counting your conversations is good, because if your metrics make sense and you say, well, for every 100 people I call, I normally get 17 on the phone, and for every 17 I get on the phone, I normally get 1 or 2 appointments. Now you know at least the metric to know your average amount of dials that you need to make. But the reality is the conversation is what matters. Your two-way exchange. You actually spoke to this person on the phone, and then how many conversations did it take you to get to the appointment? Because what's going to happen is this. If you have 10 or 20 conversations a day, at the end of the week, you should have some appointments. If you don't, then you may have a conversion problem. You may not be saying the right things. You may not be asking the right questions. And there are people on our team, and we will tell them, hey, you just need more script practice. I think you do good making the calls. You're doing the work, but you're not turning it into appointments. So is your follow-up there? Are you actually getting your listing appointments, your buyer consultations, or scheduling that next follow-up? So just keep that in mind. Now, here's your consistency rule. Elite performance isn't about having great days, it's about having a high floor. This is what we talked about a second ago, where you have a minimum standard each day. Now, again, I think that if you guys want to enjoy your weekends and things like that, that's great, right? We all have families, we all have friends. Sometimes we want to have brunch, sometimes we want to sit by the pool. All that is fine if you have a high floor on all the other days. Let me be very clear about that. I think this is so important because everybody talks about work-life balance. Do you guys believe in work-life balance? Do you think that you should work the same amount of time that you play? No, you shouldn't. If somebody is like, I play 50% of the time, I'm like, Jesus, you have a lot of play going on. So think about work-life balance in itself is not really work-life balance. In reality, it's work about 80% of the time, and then you get like 20% to be able to go out and enjoy all of the fruits of your labor, right? Would we disagree with that? And then at some point in your life, hopefully you worked really hard during that 80% and you have so much money that you never have to work again if you don't want to. I don't have to work. I like working. I like doing this. It brings me joy. So the reality is when you look at that balance, it's not a balance. It is very front-loaded in work with some downtime. I always say that because I think it catches people off guard. They think, oh no, I should be able to do what I want when I want. No, you don't. If you set the high floor each day, then you get your downtime. But if you have worked Monday through Friday and you've only talked to 25 people, do not go to the baby shower on Saturday. Do not go to brunch and drink a pitcher of mimosas on Sunday. You didn't do the thing from Monday to Friday. So I'm very clear about that. Whether it sounds harsh or not, I just know this is what you do to make it in our business, right? Do we have freedom? Can we go to the gym midweek? Sure, right? Do we get to go to Europe anytime we want and not have to worry about travel off time and asking our boss if we can leave? Yeah, you have that ability. But when you're working, you gotta get it in. This is why I used to go to church on Sunday and then drive straight to an open house after, and I'd run 3 hours of open houses. And I would prospect for 3 hours in the open house. I would have a house with a nice office, so that I could prospect every second that someone didn't walk in the door. And the second someone walked in the door, I hung up and I went to them. And then the second they left, I went back to prospecting so that I could double whammy an open house and prospecting all at the same time. Saturday, same thing. I did volunteer work in the morning, did open houses in the afternoon. Friday, same thing. You have to get your conversations in. So keep in mind that a bad day standard is a minimum of 10 conversations. I'm gonna keep saying that. You're gonna keep hearing it from me on a regular basis, and anybody that says otherwise, I'm just gonna point you back to the numbers. And I'm so glad that there's so many people on this call today. We had a really good turnout today for people to hear this, and so some of it's our team, and they're probably like, Jared, you'd say this to us all the time. And I'm very happy that our team is actually here listening to this on a Monday call. But for all of you that aren't on my team, you have to hear this. The market got really hard over the last couple of years. Remember in 2021 when we were selling 7 million houses, and you could just like walk outside and you'd fall and you'd trip on a home seller, and then you would like trip on the contract and you'd have 17 offers for like 100,000 over, and you'd be like, real estate's so easy. It was so easy. And everyone thought like this is the easiest business to be in ever. And then what happened? Sales shriveled up. They went from 7 million down to like 4 million. That's a big drop, guys. That is a giant drop. And now it just takes all of that work to be able to convert the little bit of people we want to convert, and we have to convert. So I'm going to keep coming back to, if you're doing less than 10 contacts a day, this is for everybody that's not on my team, because everybody on my team knows this. If you're doing less than 10, you are slow failing the business. No one wants to slow fail. Have you ever thought, am I just working hard enough that I'm slowly exiting the business and I don't even realize it? I'm doing just enough work, but I'm not making money. I think that I'm doing the things, yet I'm slowly exiting the business. I don't want anybody on this call to ever be guilty of that. So if we know that 10 is the minimum standard, then just keep that in mind, that you're like, man, at 10 is just a standard bad day. That's just like the bottom. So if I'm sick, if I'm exhausted, if I'm tired, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna get my 10 in. I have in here a type of 5 conversations is the floor. It's not the floor. 10 is your floor. Don't let it be 5. And I say that from experience of coaching and training so many people that when it's 5, they get to the weekend, and then where their conversations should ramp up, they end up having fun on a day and they don't do anything on a day, and then they don't get their numbers. So when you have that good day standard of 15 to 20 conversations, what does that mean? Well, when I wake up on a normal day, not a day where I'm feeling sick, not a day where I'm overwhelmed, not a day that I'm exhausted, I'm getting that 20 plus conversations. Because now if I do 20 on Monday and 20 on Tuesday and 20 on Wednesday, I'm at 60 already. If I get to Thursday and I'm like, man, I'm burnt and I can only get 10 that day, guess what? I'm at 70 combos before I ever hit the weekend. And you guys know, as realtors, the weekend should be where we deep dive into a lot of stuff. So if I had 20, 30, 40 more over the weekend, boom, now I'm over 100 conversations. I'm closing my 24 to 36 houses a year, and I'm making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So honestly, ask yourself, what is your floor? So if you've been waking up and your floor is like, I don't have to talk to anybody on some days, I've been working on my business, whatever that means. They're not talking to anybody, like, I'm working on the business. I'm having no conversations, but that's what I'm doing. What is your floor? Raise your floor. It's not just your ceiling. I think a lot of you probably have big goals, and some of you may have a high ceiling on a good day. It's all the other days that you have to raise, because we all know some days we go out and we crush it. We go out, we write multiple contracts, we show multiple houses, we're kicking it on appointments, we recruited 6 agents, it's the best. And then the next 5 days, we're laying on the floor. How low is your floor? So just keep that in mind. Obsess over your worst days, not your best days. That's what you're gonna do. That's the whole thing. That's where you build your consistency, okay? Eliminate all your excuses. I'm busy, that's an excuse, right? I hear it all the time. Couldn't come to role play, I was busy. Really? It's the same day, every month, twice a month. Everybody knows if you live in Richmond, Virginia, your role play days are the first Thursday and the third Thursday of the month from 2 to 4, and they're in person, and we have 20 to 30 agents in a room crunching a role play. So at any point, if somebody says, I couldn't make it in person, I was busy, I know that you just chose to book over role play. I'll do it later. You likely won't. I don't feel like it. Look, most of the things we have to do in our business, we don't feel like. Do we feel like writing inspection addendums? Do we feel like calling the other agent, letting them know our buyer just lost all of their financing? Do we we love calling a buyer and letting them know that they just lost out in their multiple offer scenario? Do we love working on the weekends? Probably not. There's a lot of these we don't feel like. For some reason, prospecting just feels like the thing that most agents are the worst about, saying they don't feel like it. And I think it has a lot to do with like the disc test. If you guys run a disc and you're like a high D or a high I, right? We're driven, we're direct, we like doing certain things, but we're not as organized. We don't like necessarily getting on the phones, versus like maybe like a high S or a high C is really good at just getting on the phones and dealing with that service oriented thing. And then maybe they're bad on some of the sales driver stuff. So depending on where you're on the disc test, you may be like, this isn't my biggest issue. But for a lot of us, if we are really good salespeople, we do just naturally have a hard time being motivated by getting up and sitting in the office and sitting on the phones. So just keep that in mind. You can't make excuses when it comes to this. You can make excuses on almost anything else, but not this. So reframe. Every excuse has one thing in common. It focuses on you, your feelings, your schedule, your comfort. The reframe shifts the focus to the next action. So rather than saying I don't feel like it, ask yourself, what's the next conversation I can have right now? Who is it that I talked to last week that I knew I had to talk to this week? Who did I meet at an open house this past weekend that I still haven't talked to yet? Who was 6 months back saying they weren't quite ready yet that I just never followed up on, that I need to go back and say, hey, I just wanted to touch base. I was thinking about you. What about your past clients? Have you talked to every client that you've sold a house to in the last 12 months, the last 24 months, the last 36 months? That one question, what's the next conversation I can have right now? It cuts through all the excuses. Doesn't ask how you feel, doesn't ask if you're ready. It just asks, what am I gonna do next? What is the thing I'm gonna do to push forward in my goal? Busy agents make calls between appointments. Tired agents send 5 texts before lunch. The standard does not care about your circumstances, and neither does your pipeline. So keep in mind, if you're just running to the text message and you're never picking up the phone, you're gonna have trouble. But if between your appointments, you're saying, who can I talk to next? And you're making those calls when you're driving to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, you're gonna end up doing great. So key takeaways: daily standards create predictable income. Remember, your goal doesn't mean anything, your action drives the goal. And keep in mind, are your goals guaranteed to happen? With daily action, they will be. Conversations drive everything. It's the one thing y'all should be counting. If you're on my team, you know you already count it. We have a morning huddle 3 days a week. You guys are counting your contacts. We log them all. But if you were not on the Davis group and you were just here, pull out a notepad and start ticking them every single day and count it. And ask yourself at the end of the week, did I do good? Did I do the thing? Styles don't matter. Texts don't matter. Two-way conversations. That's your indicator. And consistency. Start thinking about what your floor is every single day. Not your one good day out of the week, but the other 2 to 3 days that typically suffer. Ask yourself where you have to bring those days up, and you will see massive multiplication in your business. If you control your actions daily, the results will take care of themselves. Thank you so much for tuning in to one of our weekly training calls. Obviously, you caught the recorded session, but if you're interested in catching any of our live sessions that we do them typically on Mondays. I'm going to put the link below. So if you want to join any of our trainings live so that you can participate, so you can comment, ask questions, feel free to come. This is for our EXP group that we have here, our Omega group of agents, but it's open to anybody that wants to join, really. So if you're looking for coaching, if you're looking for training, feel free to hit that link below, and we'll see you on one of our live calls.